Hello, my friends. Nathan Liao here. The website is watchmanscry.com. On Monday, April 27, 2015, Lieutenant Colonel Mark Lastoria of the United States Army made a trip to Texas to meet with Bastrop County Commissioners to answer a few questions about the coming Jade Helm exercise. Over 150 concerned citizens showed up. During the meeting that lasted almost 2 hours, a question was asked about the Jade Helm logo. Lieutenant Colonel Lastoria responded with words that left the people's questions unanswered, and he also denied what has already been proven. And because of his answers, I'm left with suspicion about Jade Helm. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the question that was asked about the Jade Helm logo, and then we're going to talk about it.
I have a question from downstairs. Explain the title Jade Helm 15 logo. What does that mean?
The logo?
What is Jade Helm 15? Is it an acronym? Is it
no, it is not an acronym.
Code words?
Right. No, there's no code words with it.
Okay, stop the tape. First of all, he says that it's not an acronym and the word means nothing. And, well, we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to show you, ladies and gentlemen, the word Jade Helm does stand for something. But before I do, listen to the rest of his comments. Here we go.
Somebody made an acronym for it. They were very creative in their thought process on alternative media to come up with that. Very creative indeed.
Stop the tape. Hold on. He said somebody on the alternative media came up with a very creative meaning for the word Jade Helm, but it's not an acronym and it means absolutely nothing. So right out of the gate, he's telling us that there's no meaning for the word Jade Helm. Now, if that's true, ladies and gentlemen, over the last few weeks, the alternative media has been doing research. I myself have also been doing it, and over the last few weeks, I have released several videos, and I've also shared on the Hagman and Hagman program my findings. But just real quick, he said it means absolutely nothing. If that is true, then what does this mean right here? Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is a snapshot from the Jade Project that has been going on since middle to the late 90s. And as you can see right here, it says University of Maryland, College Park. It says Carnegie Mellon University. It has a reference to DARPA in the top right. The Jade Military Planning System computer program has been in development for almost 20 years. And the United States military has a new transformation doctrine where computer programs / military planning systems are going to aid in special operations and in regular operations. That's the future of the United States military. And the Jade program is a big part of it. Here's another slide of the Jade program. It tells what it does, what it's about. It's a case-based generative planner. In other words, it's an AI program, artificial intelligence. The Jade program is made up of 3 separate systems. One of them is the Prodigy Analogy System, another one is the Parka System, and then the third one is the Format System. The Format System is a force deployment planner. It is able to use artificial intelligence to calculate and analyze the best method of an operation by our special forces. And programs like this will be able to speed up the difficult tasks that commanders have to deal with when trying to calculate the best method of an exercise. It calculates for the least amount of risk to human life and also for the least amount of equipment to be used. Now, on paper, this is a great program because it does save the military money. It allows them to modify the planning. It offers suggestions on the fly that are relevant, and it allows the mission to be more successful. It allows the special forces to have a higher state of readiness. It's a great program for strategizing. Our U.S. military can use programs like this. They are very effective. But the first thing that, right out of the gate, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing that must be established is that the Jade program does exist. I have it right here. You can see it in front of you on your screen. So to say that it stands for nothing leaves me wondering why they would say such a thing. Jade stands for Joint Assistance for Deployment and Execution. And the Joint Assistance involves real people with computer software, with technology. That is the assistance that the military is getting. And by the way, the integration of computer programs and AI technology is a program that is much bigger. And when I first started researching this, I did not imagine that it was going to become as large as it did. The rabbit holes that it led to leave me concerned, because in a perfect world, if we had 100% trust in our government, that would be one thing. But we do not live in a perfect world. And from the concerned citizen's point of view, ladies and gentlemen, the Obama administration has proven itself to be untrustworthy. Over and over, we are seeing world events take place. We're seeing legislation and mandates and bills and executive orders and directives continue to get passed by the administration, which is sending America into the Orwellian world of Big Brother and tyranny. We see the foundation and the framework taking place right now. So this is why I am concerned with Operation Jade Helm. Now, I want to say up front that while it may be possible that Jade Helm may not go live this time, nevertheless, it is still a concern because the U.S. military is breaking new ground with the way that they are conducting their missions. And it is concerning because the new United States military doctrine has elements that are Orwellian. But let's get back to the video. He said it means nothing. But ladies and gentlemen, you can see right here that it does mean something. Okay, let's continue.
Bottom line, this is a joint DoD recognized exercise. So any training exercise that is recognized at the DoD Pentagon level has to have a training exercise name associated with it. Jade Helm has no special significance whatsoever, period. Much like any other training exercise or operation, you name them as a point of reference. So that way when somebody comes into my office and starts talking about Jade Helm, I know exactly what they're talking about. It's an index.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now he just said it means absolutely nothing. It's a point of reference. However, we do find the name Jade in military planning software over and over. Now, it is possible that the Jade program is not the only program they're going to be using when they do this exercise. It is possible because there are several military planning software programs. Besides the Jade program, another one is called Deep Green, developed by DARPA over the past few years. It's a program that does a similar thing. It features advanced predictive capabilities, and it allows the computer to efficiently and accurately predict possible future scenarios. And I'm reading from the description of it right here. It says, Deep Green is a project that ran under the Information Processing Technology Office of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which is DARPA. So Deep Green is a project of DARPA, and the purpose of the project was to develop a decision-making support system for United States Army commanders. So it's a similar type project, and it's able to accurately predict possible scenarios on the battlefield. It analyzes them, it examines the current situation, and it gives the Army commanders a better view of possible outcome for their decisions. So that's another program that exists, Deep Green. In addition to those two, there are several others. Now, this is a document that was put out by Canada, and this document analyzes several military planning systems. As you can see right here, it's from Canada, and it analyzes the Jade program as well as many others that the United States has developed or is developing right now. And as I scroll through here, here are several others. The Fox Genetic Algorithm, or FOXGA, the Contingency Theater Automatic Planning System, or the CTAPS, the Joint Assistant for Development and Execution, there's Jade right there, the Dynamic Analysis and Replanning Tool, or DART, the Anticipatory Planning Support System, or APSS, Time Phase Force Deployment Data Editor, or TP-Edit, and it goes on and on, ladies and gentlemen. You see all these right here? So there is not just one military planning system. There are many, but this is the new doctrine of the DoD, the Department of Defense. That is to incorporate planning systems to be able to make the military, the special forces, lean and mean. It allows them to use less people and less equipment to get more work done. So that's the future. Now, let's go on and watch this, folks. They're going to talk about the logo itself and the image that's in the middle. And I want you to pay close attention to what he says, because it's not what he says that is interesting and concerning, but it is what he does not say. And by the way, the answer that he's about to give is a recreation of history. He is going to put a spin on what we know in established history. Here we go.
The follow-up question there is, what about that strange image in the center? where the sword and arrows cross? You bring that up.
Okay, so the arrows, the cross arrows, as some people out here are from the Special Forces community, that is the branch insignia for Special Forces. The dagger going back through there is the commando dagger from World War II. The clog in there is a Danish clog.
There it is.
That goes back to World War II up in Holland, Norway, and the like during the occupied days.
Okay, stop the tape. Now, pay close attention, ladies and gentlemen. He broke down the logo, and I have done that on my program, because the Jade Helm logo has the two arrows crossing. It has a sword or dagger through the middle, and then it has the odd transparent image that has been now shown to be a Danish clog. And that's what he just said. Now, the two arrows and the sword are the same images that are in the Special Forces logo for the Green Berets, for the U.S. Army Special Forces. However, in the middle of the Jade Helm logo is a Danish clog. If you saw my other video, you saw what I had to say about it. And over the past few weeks, there have been a lot of people speculating about what that is, and some people have said what he is about to say. However, listen to how he says it. He says the clog comes from World War II. Pay attention, folks. World War II. That would mean in the 1940s. The image of the clog comes from 1940s, and he's about to say that the word sabotage came from something that occurred in World War II, which is recreating history. Now watch this.
People who were in the resistance threw their sabots, their shoes, into machinery, and the machinery would break. Hence, sabotage came from that activity. And that's one of the things that the Special Forces do in an unconventional warfare environment with the people that they're trying to pick up with. So it's traced back to those kinds of World War.
Now, did you hear it, folks? He said that the method of sabotage comes from World War II, when the Danish and the Norwegians would take off their wooden shoes and throw it into the machinery to sabotage the Nazis during World War II, when they were occupied by Hitler. Now, according to what is very easy to find online, and some of you have already seen this, some of you have stated that the shoe is a sabot, it's a Danish shoe, that was used to sabotage machinery in past history. Now, look at this, folks. Now, this is the Wikipedia page for the clog, or sabot, the French word for shoe. And it says sabots were in the 16th to 19th centuries associated with the lower classes. During this period, in the years of the Industrial Revolution, the word sabotage gained currency. Now, please make note of this. During the 16th and 19th centuries, sabotage gained currency. Why? Because it was allegedly derived from the sabot, where sabotage described the actions of disgruntled workers who willfully damaged workplace machinery by throwing their sabots into the works, into the machinery. And some of you have emailed this to me. I've seen it. And before the lieutenant colonel divulged what it meant, a lot of people online on many forums and blogs were already talking about this explanation. And the thing that I find interesting is that this explanation was everywhere almost overnight. I wonder, where did that explanation originate from? Now, if the meaning of the clog and the Jade Helm logo is limited to sabotage, here's the question. How did Lieutenant Colonel Lastoria get it so wrong? Because what he said was the sabotage that this shoe was a part of came from and originated from the resistance of World War II. And that's not true, folks. During World War II, the Danes and the people in Norway did not have wooden shoes to throw into machinery to mess up Hitler's plans. Now, sabotage did occur in the 16th through the 19th century. I have it right here. So when he says that it comes from World War II, was that a Freudian slip? Was he saying that it comes from World War II? By the way, folks, I can't tell you that what it comes from is concentration camps. And then he threw in the sabotage story? Or was it an honest mistake with his knowledge of history? Which one was it? Well, I'm not going to say that he was lying or he made a Freudian slip, because I don't know. I don't know him. However, what I think is going on here is the wooden clog of the Jade Helm logo means several things. Now, he stated that it's part of unconventional warfare that special forces take part in. And so they practice to do sabotage. If that's the case, special forces do carry out sabotage. However, the insignia on the Jade Helm logo is a transparent image. It's a ghostly image. It's like it's showing the images of people who once existed but no longer are here, people who are dead. And because of that, I believe that the clog on the Jade Helm logo, it has several layers of meaning. On the surface, it may mean sabotage, but since he mentioned World War II, I submit this, folks, it also means internment, extraction, and work camps and death camps in a FEMA concentration camp. It also means that because special forces practice extracting people or eliminating people or assassinating people or sabotaging the plans of people. They deal with people on various levels, depending on the mission, depending on the target, depending on the threat level of the target. So when he says the sabot comes from sabotage, folks, do you see it? He messed up history. He got it wrong. He was off by several centuries. So I have to ask this question. Why was he off? Why did he explain it in error? In plain sight, he said it. He mentioned World War II with something that did not happen. So a huge question mark that makes the mystery of Jade Helm even more mysterious. Now, let's go on and hear what else he had to say. Moving on.
Just one more thing on the logo. Who made up the subtitle Master of Human Domain, and what does that mean?
So Master of Human Domain is a construct that we operate in. It's actually the human domain. It's recognized at the Army level, and what that is there's no longer a linear battle.
Listen to this, folks.
After 14 years. So if you think that there's going to be another great war where it's the Allies against the Axis, or even the American-led efforts against the North Koreans and the Chinese, that's just not how warfare is conducted anymore. It's asymmetric in nature.
Okay, stop. He said that regular warfare, linear warfare, where it's state against state, the United States against Russia, the United States against China, or any other country, he said that's not how warfare is conducted. So basically, he is saying that he has a crystal ball and the United States and Russia will not fight one another in the future. He's saying that we will not have a war against another state. Now, if that is the outlook of the United States military, I would say that that is a very nearsighted outlook because we are going to have a war with Russia and China in the future. We know that. Those of you who are awake, you know this. The signs are there. War is developing. There are warmongers within our administration. There are warmongers in Congress who want war with Russia. So if our U.S. military does not believe that we will ever have war in a symmetric level again, they are very mistaken. And if they are only planning to have a different type of war, then, well, I guess that's going to fulfill what we fear, right, folks? Because there are a lot of people, there are many of you who are concerned that in the next war, the United States will not win, that we are going to be invaded, which I do believe eventually is going to happen. And it's going to happen because the United States military is not planning accordingly for a state-to-state type of theater. Now, let's look at something else he said. He said war is asymmetric. Listen to him say this again.
It's asymmetric in nature.
Okay, let's examine that word. War is now asymmetrical in nature. That is the new method of war. Now, for those of you that may not be aware what asymmetric means, let me show you what it means right here. This is going to make you feel all warm and fuzzy. Look at this, folks. Asymmetric warfare is war between belligerents whose relative military power differs significantly, or whose strategy or tactics differ significantly. What does that mean? The term is frequently used to describe what is called guerrilla warfare, insurgency, terrorism, counterinsurgency, and counterterrorism. Essentially violent conflict between formal military and an informal, less equipped and supported, undermanned, but a resilient opponent. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, asymmetric warfare would be against, it says right here, belligerents or an insurgency, or can we also add separatists, or what are labeled domestic terrorists, or constitutionalists, or patriots, or militia members? So, ladies and gentlemen, asymmetric warfare would be the type of warfare that would be carried out by a tyrannical government against their citizens who are resisting them. Now, folks, think about this. If and when martial law takes place, and if and when the United States government becomes tyrannical and decides to start rounding up free citizens who are free thinkers, who are constitutionalists, who are labeled by the administration in power at the time as domestic terrorists, if and when that time comes, there will be an insurgency by free citizens who will want to counter this. If the United States government became tyrannical and started rounding up innocent citizens, then the United States government would become a domestic enemy to the freedoms that are established by the Constitution. And at that time, there would be a civil war. There would be free citizens and patriots who were trying to resist that, who are attempting to resist that. And for the elements of the U.S. military who remained faithful to the U.S. military to fight the uprising and try to resist it, their method of warfare will be asymmetric warfare. So think about this, folks. Jade Helm is an exercise to practice asymmetric warfare against belligerents. It is an exercise to fight against insurgents, guerrillas, freedom fighters, separatists, whatever label you want to call them. Now, officially, Lieutenant Colonel Mark Lastoria stated that this is an exercise so that our special forces can be trained. And he also stated that the purpose of Jade Helm was so that they could practice in terrain that they did not already know. Because according to him, even though the United States military has a lot of terrain, the soldiers are too familiar with it, and thereby it's not as effective. So they have to practice in terrain that they are not familiar with. But since he stated this is for asymmetric warfare, is it possible that it's also practice for the coming undertaking of martial law? Is it possible, folks? And is it also possible that if that were the case, is it possible that he doesn't even know? Is it possible that the lieutenant colonel is telling the truth because of compartmentalizing? He's not going to know all of the nefarious plans that are in the future of America. It's possible he doesn't know. So I also want to give him that benefit of the doubt. But since we do know the future of America, ladies and gentlemen, asymmetric warfare will be one of the tactics used against American citizens. And Jade Helm is an exercise to practice for it. Okay, let's move on. The question was asked, what does master the human domain mean? Listen to what he says.
And what is at the root or vied for by the enemy is the human populace. You have a gentleman in the Middle East, we'll call him Abdullah Ali. Okay, so Abdullah Ali is able to provide you food when you can't get food. He's able to get you clean water when you can't get clean water. He's able to start up a school in your local community. And then one day, Abdullah Ali comes to you and says, hey, would you mind hiding this anti-aircraft missile for me? He's never asked that population for anything before, but he has only provided. He has worked the human domain. They take the anti-aircraft missile and they hide it for him. It is population centered. How do we counter his credibility, his influence that he has when we come in and we move into an area for 3 days, 4 days at a time? How can you instantly pick that apart and figure it out? That is the human domain that we operate.
Okay. Did you hear what he said, folks? When there is a person who has favor with his local community, who I would suppose is living in an area where the United States military is occupying or visiting or spreading democracy or spreading freedom. So you have this gentleman who has a good relationship with his people, but then that same gentleman is a part of some sort of resistance. And he asks his local villagers or townspeople if they will hide an anti-aircraft missile for him, and they do. So how does the U.S. military go into that village and find out who he is and convince the people that he's a bad man? How does the military do that? He doesn't answer. He says that is what mastering the human domain is. That's the challenge. Now, if you noticed, he didn't give you the answer of how that takes place. And to explain it would take a long time. And I have gone into great detail in some of my other programs to explain it. But in summary, mastering the human domain requires that the U.S. military has sent people in beforehand who are human terrain experts, social scientists, who have infiltrated the village and who have become basically spies in that village and discovered who that gentleman is. They have taken names, they have attended meetings and mixed in. They have practiced and honed the skills of mixing in with the local community and appeared as friendly so that they are able to extract information from the locals about the belligerents. In other words, it necessitates having a team of spies and infiltrators to gather information, to data mine the local population. So now let's bring that home. If the United States did have an uprising, because those of you that are watching this are concerned about an uprising, you're concerned about martial law, if that were to occur here, and if the freedom of the United States went away, and if this thing went live, if the resistance went hot because the United States was pushing the people as a tyrannical dictatorship, if the administration and whoever's in charge, whether it's Obama or someone else, if they went past the line of freedom, then the people of the United States are going to resist. There will be belligerents and separatists and freedom fighters. When that happens, in order to counter that, the United States military is going to use human terrain teams, human terrain experts, spies, and infiltrators to go into different regions to find out who the troublemakers are, according to them. Now, this is a whole other topic. This is a whole other program about infiltration, and I have done a few programs about it. I've written a few articles about it, so go to my website to see that. But that is a whole other chapter of Jade Helm. He admitted right here that there is a challenge to find out names, to deal with the problem people, the troublemakers. So Jade Helm is going to practice on domestic soil here in the United States. They're going to practice several things. In summary, ladies and gentlemen, here's what it is. They're going to practice asymmetric warfare against quote-unquote domestic terrorists or belligerents or insurgents. They're practicing that on the United States. And they're using actors who are hired to pretend they are separatists. They're also going to practice how to infiltrate, how to extract, how to find out names, how to spy. That's the other part of Jade Helm. And when the Lieutenant Colonel Lastoria was explaining all this, many people didn't notice those key words that he used. So that's why we're talking about it right now, folks. This is why I am concerned about Jade Helm. Now, again, I don't know if it's going to go live, and I don't know if it's going to be the real thing that takes us there, but I do believe it is the manifestation of the new doctrine of the U.S. military. We are seeing the change, the transformation occur right now. This is it, folks. So when the time comes where they pop the cork, sign along the dotted line, when the decree is made, the directive, the executive order, whatever it takes to send us into that new realm of martial law, the U.S. military is going to be ready for it. So, my friends, stay vigilant. Become knowledgeable about this. If you really want to know the details about Jade Helm, go to my website, watchmanscry.com. I have several programs there where you can see even more details. Get educated, folks, because we're going to need the education. So with that, stay safe, stay vigilant, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.